Okay, I've got the time as 6:30. So we'll call the work session of the Mayor and Council for the City of Snellville, Georgia, Monday, January 25th, 2021 to order. I just want to let everybody know, I'm going to continue to wear my mask, but I am way out of my isolation period. I do have a little bit of a lingering cough, but I should be way, way past the point of any kind of contagion. So let's review the regular business meeting, which is very short. Does anyone want to volunteer to do the invocation? Or the pledge?
I'll do the pledge.
Dave will do the
Tristan
pledge.
Hardy is going to be here tonight for, he's the senior patrol leader with the Boy Scouts. I'll get his troop number, but I asked him to do the pledge.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Tristan, what's his last name?
Hardy, Hardy.
Awesome. So I'll need somebody for the for the invocation if you'd like
How about
to,
Kurt?
to do something, let me know.
Dave.
We have a proclamation honoring our Snellville Police Department. We've got the minutes, and then we have the election of the mayor pro tem. So that is everything on the regular meeting. Any questions or comments? Correspondence? Butch?
We do have one item that I would recommend holding for the executive session.
Okay.
Since it has to do with property.
Okay. And then also Dave has passed out to everybody the latest iteration of a letter for the mayor and council to send to the county regarding the apartments proposal on 124. So if y'all could review that, let us know if there's any edits in the morning, and we'll get that printed and get it sent out.
Dave and I went over it today, made a couple of changes just to make sure that it makes it clear where we stand and what we're requesting of the Board of Commissioners. And as it stands in here, what we are requesting is that the Board of Commissioners actually follows their future land use plan, their 2040 comp plan, and Dave laid it out exceptionally well, their actual words as to why the development should not go forward. So.
Okay. We do have Chuck on Zoom. He is in quarantine once again for another exposure to COVID.
Typhoid Chuck.
He's wearing a tie.
But he's managed to escape. Anything under city attorney's report?
Just moved in executive session.
Okay. All right, so we'll go to update of ongoing projects.
You bet.
Butch and I had a call today. Butch, Eric, and I had a call with Kirk, Brett, and Shannon, just to get a sense of where we are and where we are on timing of things. And we all know that we're still working through the last bit for the documents. But there is a lot of other work that they've done and are, right at the point of pulling some permits and stuff. So in talking today, I asked if Kirk could join us today in the work session just to give us a rundown of everything that they've done on their end in the last 30 days. So Kirk, were you able to join in? I see you. Is that
Kurt, can you hear us?
Is he
Can you
muted?
hear me? This is Brett. I can hear it.
Say it
Brett.
again.
Mayor, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep.
Hello, got Brett. And I believe Shannon might join here. Yes, I'm on.
I'm here.
went down. Test, 1, 2. Can you hear us?
I can hear everybody, I just wanted to make sure they can hear me.
You
Okay.
sound great now.
And
Yep,
now we've got you good.
we've got you good.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Motion made, do you want me to proceed with an update?
yes, if you would. I kind of gave everybody a little preface that you're going to just run down all the bullet points of where you guys are on your end of things, so that we've got a better sense of where we are.
There's been a lot of talk in the documents, and I'm going to move back to that in a moment here. But let me just go through a long list of stuff that has been accomplished, and even some things the last few weeks that were accomplished on your end that were very important to move things forward. So, well, we all know the winter contract was signed for the parking deck. We participate on a call weekly to get that ready to go, so that's all moving forward. The LDP, which is the permit for the site work, I believe we got the last comments from the county. So I think within a few days or within a week, we can pick up the LDP or be prepared to pick up the LDP. Once the LDP is ready, then the apartment permit, building permit will be ready. That's been reviewed and is just subject to the LDP. So we've got both permits ready for pickup, which obviously means all the work's been done. So we fully have designed the apartments. And also with the apartments, we have selected a contractor. So we went through a process with 4 contractors, selected one here that's has a regional base in Atlanta presence. That contract's been ready to sign. So we're fully designed, ready for permits on the site work and apartments. Just recently, we received drawings from Michael Kidd about some of the work to be done in the Grove. On behalf of the city, we have given detailed preliminary pricing to Butch last week for you to start to go through that splash pad and the likes to make some decisions, but we have fully priced that so you can begin to decide on exactly how you want to proceed there. But those plans are done, or are mostly done, and we've given the price to the city. Recently the post office closed, and I know when we first met, the post office was ongoing at that time, over 3 years ago, so that's a big success. I know Butch and the city has worked hard to get the post office closed. Is how this all works. There's even a new survey that had to be done post office closing that's being done right now that Eric authorized that allows us to get title insurance on the property. So when we receive the new survey, we'll proceed with the title commitment that's standard on all real estate transactions, so we're waiting for that. We were recently provided the construction IGA with the county, which was another closing requirement. So we have that, and that's been, all this has been forwarded to our lender. So before I get to the documents, the only important outside of them is the bonds that fund a lot of the work, and I know that you're waiting for the documents, but I know they've been validated in December, and I know that you've had meetings and that you can go to the market within a 2 to 3 week period and get those funds, which is great. So that's the only kind of contingency out there, and I think we're prepared to move forward with everything else, assuming that the bonds will get sold and funded. So the documents that there's 4 of them: the parking declaration, the JDA, the parcel 13 easement, and the master declaration. Those are all in the works. We have just turned over another draft of the parking declaration earlier this evening. We have released the master declaration earlier this evening. We just have a few comments left to the JDA and waiting for some guidance from Butch on that. And then the parcel 13 easement, which will be signed at the phase 2 closing, is a 5 to 6 page document that outlines giving the city access to the detention and the right to do a future road. We're not expecting any issues there. So, the master deck, they're complicated, they're detailed, but at the end of the day, I think the business terms are the same as we talked about for years. It's just, as you can imagine, like our restaurant parcels, they don't have any parking on their parcels. So it's just the details of the streets, serving as parking, the parking deck, how that works. And, hopefully, as I've said, these get recorded and they rarely come out over the life of it, but they are a necessity of the business. But I think that after a lot of work to get them going, I think we can meet as early as next week and finalize those. I've suggested a meeting with the city and the city's attorney. There's work on the documents to get that done. Again, most of the discussions have not been about business points, but just the details. We have, for example, the library put a vault in the library plaza, and we have to account for that. So it's been looking over the entire transaction and how they're interrelated. We got 6, 7, 8 new buildings on the first phase and how they work together harmonious for a long time. So this front end work goes a long way to make it a smooth deal for 10, 20, 50 years. Our message is, I think we've spent over 3 years with you. You spent millions of dollars to get ready for this. We've already spent $1 million in this design work. We think we'll be closing hopefully in March and starting construction immediately. So it's all this pre-work will be very beneficial to a smooth development deal once we get going. So, we're it's not optimistic isn't even the right word. We're 100% certain we'll be closing soon, and we're working as hard as we can to get there. And I think there's a lot of momentum right now to get it done. Again, I don't know if we've really lost any time considering the post office just closed. There are certain things that had to happen, and they'll start to happen right now, and we can get to the finish line. Brett, Shannon, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's properly stated, Kirk, and as you say, we've spent $1.3 million since May of 2018, so that certainly demonstrates our commitment. But there are, as you said, there are steps that we have to take even after the documents are completed, and that's primarily with our lender. But they have, as things have been completed, Shannon has been distributing that to the lender, so it's not that they're starting from zero. Hopefully we can avoid, for instance, an appraisal, updated appraisal. Hopefully we can do one and use that. Hopefully we can update the environmental report that they already have, et cetera. So, otherwise I think you stated it very well.
I think what Brett just mentioned, we did some of this stuff a while back, so again, we're ready to go. I think, like Brett said, it's a great, strong relationship with the lender, and we'll get through that. There's no concern on our end.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Kurt. We really appreciate you all making some time tonight to come on and let us know what you've done.
And Mayor, if I could say too, I know that one reason we're talking about this is we have a design review period expiring Friday, which has been simply a date to agree to the documents. We are asking, as we've done in the past, to accommodate the lapse in time to extend that another few weeks in an effort to wrap this up and get it done. So we'd like to send out an amendment tomorrow, evidencing that. And also give you time to sell the bonds too. There's another corresponding date there that we've pushed out as the post office and bonds have been delayed. So, but I'm just imagining a few weeks on each. And although we split it, and we hope it's our last one, I think we're getting very close. We've been asking to start early, as some people may or may not know. So that's kind of where we are. We're absolutely, we both need to start. We have contracts with our contractors. You have one with Winter, we have one with our department. They go stale. We are all very motivated to close as soon as possible.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Kurt and Brett and Shannon. I appreciate you guys jumping in here kind of at the last minute after our phone call today, so we appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to do it.
All right, y'all have a good evening. Okay, and then, but you just want to follow up with the
Sure.
rest of the update?
As Kirk said, we just received the return comments back from Midcast on the parking deck. Just received the master deck to review. I talked to Blake Sharpton today. We'll be on the phone tomorrow going over that after we've had a chance to read through that. The joint development agreement, we redlined the draft that we had, and I'm not sure Kurt spoke to that exactly, but he said we've been told that there are not a lot of edits that probably will be coming back. It's in their court to review. The Gwinnett County Library construction IGA, as everybody knows, is complete. The parcel 13 easement is being reviewed by Brian Edwards and Blake Sharpton for their confirmation. The meetings will stay pretty constant. They may actually speed up a little bit. The next winter parking deck update is Tuesday, February the 2nd. That's every other Tuesday at 10:30. And then every Wednesday at 9 a.m., we have an update with Larry Kaiser. The first item on the list of items is the design review period, which we need to discuss what we're going to do there. We do have a called meeting on Wednesday evening where that can be finalized. Master deck, JDA, I'm just going to kind of hit the high points as we go down through here. And I've tried to put different things in green to let you know that basically the work is finished. The civil engineering for phase 1, we went over, as Kirk mentioned, we had a very good budget meeting with Roger and Kirk last Friday afternoon. I think I've updated you for the first time because it's the first time we saw the numbers for the other improvements last Friday. You have those, and you probably realize why we called a budget meeting for Wednesday afternoon to go over those numbers. But the civil engineering is basically finished. If you remember, we had a cap on that number of a little over 1.8 million. Our budget right now is under 1.3 million. The Grove plans, as I said, you've got some information there. We'll have our meeting at 4 o'clock next Wednesday on that. County Library, we have received the document with all the signatures. The parking deck, we've received the final version with all signatures. Multifamily residential, as Kirk told you, basically, that's why I outlined that in green. They're basically ready to pick up permits and move there. Stormwater master detention, Dickerson continues to do a very good job. I walked over there this afternoon. They're probably at 90% as far as the detention ponds across Wisteria. Stormwater within phase 1, we have a very good price that I think I've listed maybe in the Grove improvements, but it's the stormwater for phase 1 is about $282,000. When you combine that with the work that Dickerson has done, we're well under our $1 million budget for stormwater. And then you've got the market design and leasing agreement. I mentioned this to Barbara earlier. We've received the proposal from Shannon Dixon, and I would ask Barbara, you guys can proceed the way you want to, but I would like to have a committee to work with on that market agreement so we can start that discussion as quickly as possible and stay ahead of things there. I think I sent that proposal out Friday to everybody for review, so I would just recommend that we push that as quickly as we can. Final page, city source for funds. We talked a little bit about the bond issue. Both Blake Sharpton and Bill Camp has let us know that once we give them the go-ahead, basically we can be closed on the bonds in 3 weeks. Public infrastructure, still working with CHA and the county and the state on everything from the intersection improvements where we have a preliminary field plan review next week. Well, I guess it's a couple of weeks now. And we also want to, Barbara mentioned it at the last meeting, we'd like to have a field trip with all the council members to go over exactly what's in the CHA plan, so we don't miss anything. That will be, Larry thinks that it'll be around a 90% design plan. It might be a little less than that, but it'll be a great time for us just to walk around the block and see all the improvements that are planned. You can kind of fit things into your budget number then. Sign ordinance, we still have some discussion to do there. USPS closing, I didn't think it would ever be in green, but it is. Property easements for the joint access, we still have a little work to do there. Sanitary sewer, the bids came in last week, and thank goodness for Dickerson once more. Their bid was the only bid under $2 million, which was the budget. So GWR is reviewing that bid. I'm sure it's very good and thorough, and I hope it will be approved. And that their timeline fits well within our calendar need. So that's basically the update that I can add to Kirk's report.
And that's a county project, right? So they
It
approved
is.
that contract.
But I also sent out not specific information yet, but I've asked them for a public meeting. I think you saw that, where we'll have a virtual meeting. We'll be able to get in touch with all of the property owners, not only on Eastwood, but in the entire impacted area. Because if you remember, they're also going to put a lot of water system improvements in while they're there. So we can expand that conversation and let all our citizens know, our property owners, what the county's going to be doing. Give them an opportunity for input and to ask questions. So I'll keep you updated when they finalize that.
And Mayor Bush, maybe we had a last item on there now. I've contacted and been in communication with Ramon, you may remember him from Drive. He is putting together kind of a letter of intent and terms from his side, and would look forward to getting together with you and whomever, again, which is an idea of a committee, may be a good one there as well, to start to review that and move that forward. He's very excited about that conversation.
And also, in case nobody saw it, there's apparently a co-working space opened in Snellville. I don't know if it's in the city. I couldn't get the details, or in the county with a Snellville address, called The Hub.
It's called what?
The Hub.
Oh, the Hub.
So I'm trying to find some more information on it to see what's where, just to be aware of.
Okay. Any questions on the ongoing projects?
Can I give you just a couple of quick updates on the rest of the project update?
Sure.
We have lost our leaseholder at the property on Lenora Church, the McCart property, basically the Rock property, Baker's Rock property. So we are going to work with, just like we put a police officer in our house out in Summit Place, we're going to look to see if we can rent that to an employee. We have somebody who's very interested in doing some work to fix it up. And I've also recommended that we start working on what the future of that property looks like. We've cleaned it up. It's a nice piece of property. It's an old farm. I've contacted the extension service to see if they would like to use it, kind of a demonstration project. Since this was an agricultural farming community, I thought they might be interested in taking the property and making it a demonstration project where they put some state money into it. So we just need to sit down and have a discussion about where that goes.
Is that's the one where the horse,
What's that?
Yeah.
where the horse place was?
Yeah.
Where did they go?
What's that?
Where did they go?
I think COVID just
COVID did them in.
hurt their clients, and it's just a tough situation. A couple of miscellaneous things. Everybody was interested about the Big Oak. The Historic Society is interested. They've got some of the wood. They're going to talk about making bowls and I think spoons now. I'm not sure exactly how that works. We've given them one of our logs to make some thresholds that we could possibly use in the grove. And then the big piece, we have found a gentleman with a sawmill and with a saw big enough to saw the remainder of the trunk, which we could probably get 3 or 4 tabletops out of that, which would really make a nice, they'd make beautiful tables. You could either put epoxy in there, you could put a glass surface, you could do different things there. So, and that's down in Iron City, Georgia. And so we're exploring that possibility, but that's really the best that we can do. It was not good wood, a lot of rotten spots in it, so.
Can you get any planks out of it after the?
There's just not, those logs are not big enough, Dave. That's why we talked about just thresholds, which you could put a plaque in.
Right.
And I gotta tell you, Don Smith, Chad's dad, has been great to work with. I mean, he's kind of jumped on it and come up with some good ideas locally. And then we looked at what we could do with the bigger pieces. So that's the discussion so far. Be thinking about that. And then, well, I already mentioned that there will be a public forum for the sanitary sewer project by GWR. So that's about all I have.
Any questions for Butch?
What time is that meeting Wednesday, 6?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
The budget review is at 4.
Yes,
We
but
could have
that's,
3 people there for that.
yeah, Todd and Dave and I will be at that meeting, and then we'll do the specially called meeting for council at 6.
What about code enforcement on here?
What's that?
Do you have code enforcement on here?
Code enforcement is taking the violations that have occurred at Snellville Pavilion and following up at the corporate level.
Butch, I contacted Johnny maybe 2 weeks ago about the situation behind the Dollar Tree. It is constant litter.
Is it still there?
I'm talking about the Dollar Tree by the Michael's Shopping Center.
Yeah.
Behind that store, there's always so much litter. And I contacted him and he said he has been apparently working with them, and he's working with them at the corporate level now. But it is just, it's awful back there. And I go through there a lot of times to go into that Michael's Shopping Center, and it's just a mess. Is there anything more we can do to get those people? I mean, they don't even seem to try to hit the dumpster.
Jason, do you have any kind of an update on that?
I think they've been cited several times, and now it's more like you said, dealing with the owners and the ownership to get it done, because the local managers really don't care. I mean, they basically need a bigger dumpster or more pickups because they have so much waste. And that's why Officer Green is trying to get to the right person to make the problem go away forever, instead of just writing a citation and have it picked up and then writing another one and then another one. So he's trying to climb the corporate ladder, which is sometimes takes a little time to get to the right person that's going to make it right. But yeah, he's active on that, and several other of the, I guess you would call habitual litterers in that sense. I've seen that place firsthand, and they just have way more waste than they have room for, is the biggest issue.
Well, the best way to get their attention is to get them in court and let Chuck and Jay, go before the judge and just lay it on.
It just always looks awful back there. And, a lot of people cut through on that road behind Dollar Tree.
They do.
It's terrible looking.
Well, Jason, let us know if, let Officer Green know that we're ready to do whatever we need to do to help get their attention.
I will. I'll follow up with him tomorrow, see where we're at in the process, and then let everybody know.
Okay. Okay,
And that's owned by a real estate group over in Peachtree Corners. So it is not necessary to go any further than the owner at Peachtree Corners.
We'll find out tomorrow for sure.
maybe we could go pick up a load and go dump it on their
Yeah.
front door.
Yeah,
See
that'd be
what
good.
Peachtree
I
Corners,
gotta pick up-
I'll take a copy of this and send it to you.
We'll just leave it in their parking lot.
And we have quality of life court on the 18th of February.
Okay, and then we have item B is review of the town center contract documents. Are we holding that till Wednesday?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sort of what you got.
Expansion of the town center overlay district. Todd?
That came up because in doing some other research, I had to go back through the last couple of years of our agendas and minutes and saw that it had been on the agenda at one point and we put it off because the UDO was upcoming. The expansion that we were concerned about at that time was taken care of under the UDO, but I went ahead and Jason had sent out a link to all of us. I went ahead and took a picture of the town center overlay and sent it to y'all. I think it'd be something good for us to at least consider when we go on our retreat to just take a look at it.
Okay.
Because if we're not proactive, we understand exactly what happens. We're then reactive to all sorts of wonderful things. So just was pouring back through all of our previous meetings that I was a part of to make sure that we're not letting things, as we're juggling all the balls for town center, that we're not letting things fall through. So that's the only reason it was there. Y'all were emailed a copy of that picture, like I said, just a few minutes ago. So just something to think about for our upcoming retreat.
Okay, so we just need to make sure we have that on the agenda.
Sure.
And Todd, I guess if you want to coordinate with Butch and Jason to make sure we have whatever we need
Absolutely.
when we're, for the meeting.
Yeah, and something to consider there too is since we enlarged it by a pretty big boundary, that a lot of those current buildings that are there now are non-conforming. So that's going to be another question as these people come in and may want to, you know, change something or add something. So it's something want to be cognizant of as well. Like everything in that boundary now is pretty much considered grandfathering or grandfathered if it's already been developed, meaning that even newer developments like the Pet Paradise and the storage facility, all of those I doubt would meet the town center overlay standards at this point. So there's a lot of projects that are going to be immediately rendered, you know, legally non-conforming, and there's going to be some ramifications from that as well. So I might want to think about that with Chuck and Tony and ways that we can, you know, handle those situations as they occur too. Because I believe a lot of the property owners in that area were probably not aware of that until they come in to apply for a new development permit and whatnot. And then maybe we need to really take a look at which parcels truly need to be in there, if you want to expand it, if you want to contract it, but, you know, really understand what the meaning means for new development, but also development that's already in place and has been for a few years or 20 years. So just another discussion point.
Okay. All right, any other questions on that? Public postings of agenda work product and executed documents. Todd?
Okay, for those of y'all who've been around a long, long time, back when I was on council back in 2007, we had issues of making sure that everything was transparent and open to the government, or to the public, because that's who we serve. And that was always one of the things I harped on, and we did a great job by making everything electronic, having it available online. The issue is, not everything's available online. I was doing some research for our current work, going through town center and some other issues, and was going back through both our agendas and our minutes, and found that at least half of our documents are not available online.
Adopted documents?
Adopted documents and stuff that we handle during our regular meetings. Now, that is an issue to me because the public needs to be able to follow along with what we're doing. Otherwise, they're going to get the impression we're trying to hide something. That's number one. That's always been my issue. But number two, I don't know about y'all, but I no longer, I used to, I don't keep a stack of documents in my house anymore because I literally threw away like 11 of those banker boxes, probably 3 years after I got off council last time, because you never know. And that's an awful lot of paper. We get repeating documents, we get multiple updates and changes, and it's very hard if you're keeping the paper to figure out which one we're working off of. Well, they're not available online. When we have a zoning, we have an ordinance in there that says draft, but it never shows what was adopted. So if a citizen has a question about what's being built by their house that we did the zoning on, they have to call and get in touch with staff. It should be that it's available online so they can see what the conditions were. And again, our minutes are great, but they often reference documents that aren't available. So I'm asking y'all to consider what we should do. I know our policy is it'll all be on there and it'll be updated. I think it's important, if we really care about free and open government, that we do a charter change to make sure that within 48 hours of adoption by mayor and council, that PDFs of all the adopted material is up on our website.
Do you want us to wait? For instance, there's a couple of notes here about, we didn't have signatures from Winter Construction. We didn't have signatures from the Board of Commissioners. Shouldn't we wait till they're fully executed?
Absolutely, but the draft.
That count can take way longer.
Right, but the draft documents that are handed out in our meetings should be uploaded. I mean, actually, we should get a digital update of our agenda packet, even if it's the day of the meeting. So for those of us who are truly trying to be digital, we're not having to juggle all this paper.
And most of the time, you guys get a different packet than the public gets. So, and when we were talking about this earlier in our pre-meeting, I'd love for the three of us to sit down and so we can identify exactly what you're looking for. Because I'm with you. I mean, we need to be transparent.
Well,
but I think, like planning commission minutes, does that not have the results of the planning commission decision?
well, the staff report does and that, but it's not, it's in 7 different areas. I mean, you can't go to one spot and say, what happened at this meeting? And planning commission minutes are included in our packets, in their report, but that isn't actually in our packet. That's a separate link that I have to go out of my document to go to. And I understand, because there's oftentimes 200 pages of stuff, and we don't necessarily need that. But it would be great if we had in our agenda packet a live link so we could hit that. Also, it needs to be, correct me if I'm wrong, we all have other jobs. This is our part-time gig, and we volunteer to do this. When I get an agenda packet, it's a PDF. Why isn't it bookmarked? Why do I have to? Okay, well then I guess I just need to be trained. But the big issue isn't necessarily for me, or for Dave, or for Barbara, or even for Butch. The big issue is, we're not gonna be here forever. And when we're no longer here, we wanna make sure we've left a good trail, so whoever follows in our footsteps not only does the right thing for the citizens, but also has access to what's happened.
Let's get together. And we'll.
And I'm happy with that. And that's
We'll find out
why I didn't
exactly.
bring a document and hand out to folks, because first of all, it doesn't go anywhere unless y'all want it to. So, I mean, maybe it's something, we talk about it and then present it again at our retreat or in another work session. But it's up to y'all. Because if we make it a policy, yeah, that's great. Now, I trust them, they do their best. If we make it an ordinance, well, what, if somebody doesn't do it, then they get a fine. Well, that's kind of silly. If we raise it to the level of it's in our charter, then by God, it's going to happen, and it's going to be done. And again, it isn't just for me, it isn't just for today, it's for 10 years down the road. I have the joy of trying to follow up on one of our neighboring cities where someone may or may not be a planning commission member, to try to help a friend of mine who had questions, and that city's webpage, there was absolutely nothing available. I mean, we are head and shoulders above almost every other city around us, but that doesn't mean we can't look to be better. That's all. That's my speech for today. Thank you very much.
Any questions or comments? Nope. Okay, so Butch and Melissa and Todd can all get together and kind of talk through some things.
Bring snacks.
Another committee.
And when we're doing that, also think about how we need to change
The website.
Right.
so that it's more navigable.
Well, it's my understanding that that's kind of in the works, right?
Kind of.
Kind of,
Yep. Brian nods, yes.
yep. Yeah, and I mean, it's a big issue because really, even if you get all of that stuff on the website, being able to be found is a whole nother issue. Because sometimes when you're looking for a contract, it's really not here, it's, here. There's so many things that are interrelated, it's just hard to.
And maybe it's just after years of being involved in the city, I'm so clueless, I don't know where to look. Could be.
I doubt it.
Oh, no, I've been.
The way our website is, I wouldn't put it past me. I wouldn't put it past any of us not being able to find exactly what we need. When we
Okay,
need it.
so that brings us to the end of our work session at 7:13. We have time for the exec session? Or do we need to wait
Try
till
to get
after?
through it.
Well, let's try it, and we can always
Okay.
recess.
Okay, then, let's see. During the work session of the Mayor and City Council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed